Which Florida State freshman make an instant impact for the Noles?
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith. Thank you to the everydayers that make this a great show. Appreciate you coming in. You can find this podcast wherever you get your pods for free and on YouTube. Your team every day here on the Locked On Network. Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn College. Make sure you check it out. It is the recruiting sponsor here on the Locked On Network. Thank you for them being our sponsor. Today, I'm going to do a short show. Just going to talk about some of the freshmen that I think have a chance to make an impact. I will go in depth a little more on the overall 24 class that is enrolling already or this summer. And we're going to kind of get over why they can all play, what is their long-term role. But I just want to go over the top guys today. The first three players, these are the guys that I think have the best chance to not only play, but more importantly, for how fans look at it, not just special teams, but first and 10 situations. This is my opinion. It's partially maturity, physical skill, obviously, position need, and then basically, what's the depth chart? That plays a factor too. Like, you got to be realistic. So, number one on the board for me, some people might be surprised, but there's a combination of reasons here. It's Cam Davis. Doherty High School out of Albany, Georgia, national recruit. I've known him since his freshman year. Great guy. I am openly at this point blank, I'm very biased towards him. I thought he was as good a recruit as there was in the country last year because I look at things a lot differently than just what they do on the field. Maturity matters. He's never going to be the kid that's in the headlines for the wrong reasons. Yes, sir. No, sir. Serves God. He's very straightforward, academically inclined. He's the guy that you want to be at the forefront of not only a college program, but an NFL team. He'll play NFL football. Barring injury, Cam Davis will play NFL football. And he's 5'11", 215, 220 pounds. He is a truck. Absolutely a truck. I should have thought about it beforehand, but this is a kid that before he got banged up some last year, he was playing quarterback part of the time. He had a couple of plays where guys were dumb enough when he was going full speed, and he could run about 22 mile an hour, 21, 22 mile an hour. He's fast. Took him on head on, and it looked like a gnat hitting a Mack truck. He is the downhill, absolutely no fear guy, but also has breakaway speed. He's also a kid that can play in the slot. He's done it since his freshman year in 7-on-7, super competitive. When he plays free safety, I've seen him get multiple picks in a 7-on-7 game. Instinctive. They will find a way, despite Evan Rodell transferring from Alabama, despite, well, just honestly, they've got about five running backs that are good. He will find a role this year. And keep in mind, of all the positions on the gridiron, running back is towards the top, if not the top position, unfortunately, for injuries. Somebody's getting hurt. And you're going to rotate guys anyway. I don't know which guy it is. Singleton will be banged up. It'll be Rodell, whatever. He'll be able to move up if he stays healthy, obviously, just by being in the rotation. There'll be a game somewhere down the road where this can happen. And as an example, a couple years ago, the guy that started at Ohio State in the Michigan game was the fourth string running back as a true freshman. 3 guys got hurt. He started the Michigan game. Running backs get hurt. It's just part of the game. Cam Davis is going to have a chance to help out the Seminoles. Number 2 for me was not a real hard choice either. This is another kid since his freshman year I knew I'd have taken him as like an 8th, 9th grader. Landon Thomas out of Colquitt County, 6'5", 230 something, very athletic. Florida State's not super deep at tight end. They got some veteran guys that have learned to play this position. They got some size to them now. They know the offense, but there's got to be a role for it. And again, tight end, kind of like running back, a lot of guys get banged up. A lot of high speed, distance collisions. That's just more injury. It's just true. And again, you can't teach the skill set. He knows what it's like to be a flex, played in a big time high school program, honestly, not that far from where Cam played. And he's a kid that, where he's at, Colquitt County in Moultrie, Georgia, life and death for that community is that high school football program. It is the only high school, the only one in Colquitt County. Do you think that might have something to do with football? They want all the players to play at that school. It matters. It's ingrained in him. He's a mature kid. He's a smart kid. I think Landon will have a chance to play some early this year. The last kid that I think has a really good chance to play despite a loaded secondary is Kai Bates. It's a slightly different reason. Now, he's mature. He's an elite student, played at Edgewater in Orlando. It's a really good high school program, excellent coaching there, all the above. Can't teach the size. You can play safety, you can play corner, could probably play nickel. Academics are where you want him to be. Could have went to Stanford or something. Really good. It's physical strength. This is one of the other things that I brought up with Cam. Can't teach Cam strength. Cam's arms are like my legs. I'm pretty strong, but Cam's arms are just ridiculous. You ever get a chance to meet Cam Davis, you're like, holy cow, look at his biceps. This kid, for a long rangy DB, is put together. And he's nuts. I was at a game last year. Kai had a big bandage on his hand. Like, what's going on? Part of his finger got tore off, and he stayed in the freaking game. He's a little different. I'm like, you did what? He got they put something around it and kept it together. Whatever. It sounds terrible to me, but he continued to play. He's that guy. A little different mentality to play football in general. I think we can all agree that. But Kai Bates gets it, that his chance is to play and to play now. I'm here to make a run. He doesn't care where he plays, safety, whatever. He'll find a role. And he's definitely a kid that's going to play on special teams. He's going to learn the playbook faster than most guys, mature kid. But that strength and that size, he's a 200-pound kid. He's not going to have a hard time taking on the physicality compared to some other young guys. Now, it's still not the same as going through a strength program for a few years. Not saying it is, but he will make an impact. The second level, these are guys that I think will play special teams pretty much, but have a chance maybe to make an impact. And this is just my opinion. A couple of them I've seen live. So, again, take it for what it's worth. Jaden Parrish, linebacker at Atlantic High School down in Palm Beach County, thumper. This is old school 1995 middle linebacker for the Noles. Little undersized, can really run, fears nothing, hits like a train. You're going to find a spot for a kid like that. If he'd have played in Miami Northwestern, he'd have been ranked higher. Completely convinced of that. I saw him in the spring game. Everybody there was impressed. Florida State was there, etc. They recruited him hard, and they got him. Great football player. He was underranked, whatever. He will play in some capacity. Linebackers that are good play on special teams, so that's a lock anyway. Florida State's not super deep. The linebacker's another one of those injury spots, closer to the ball, but not at the line. There's going to be some head-on collisions with the Cams and guys like that of the world that are 215 running the football. More injuries happen. Maybe he gets a chance to play this year. I wouldn't be shocked. The next one surprises me a little bit, but he just turned it on so much over the summer when he got to FSU. Elijah Moore. I'm going on a few videos. What I've heard, I don't know this kid. He's out of good counsel in the DC area. Really good program, by the way. And he's got size. Florida State likes bigger receivers, obviously, with who they had last year, Keon and Johnny. Elijah Moore has that. He can moss people. He's pretty technical and shifty for a bigger receiver. Do not be surprised that he gets a chance to play in some capacity, even if it's just some of the extra games that he plays, like 4 games in red shirts. I think he'll play beyond special teams. Really gifted athlete, kind of kid you throw alley-oops to on a basketball court. Finally, that second tier, Charles Lester, just pure cover. He might be the best cover guy that Florida State signed the last couple of years. Really good. I don't think he's quite as strong as Kai, and that's what I put Kai a little higher, but they're same player otherwise. The length, the ability to change direction, jump, and all that, both of them are phenomenal athletes. I'm curious to see if Charles ends up playing some safety, nickel, they just keep him a corner, because he can do whatever, and he could be a great receiver too. We didn't know growing up like which spot he was going to play because he just dominated. Everybody knew about him when he's 14, 15 years old. Super, super athlete. Got to find a way to get him on the field, but at least on special teams. And do not be surprised at some point in his career if he's not a punt return guy, because he's that kind of athlete. He's really talented. A couple other kids that I just want to mention in general. Tamir Hickman Collins, a linebacker, Indiantown High School in South Carolina, small school. Another kid that's a lot like Parrish that could really run. I love the evaluation. He was under-recruited because he's from a small school in South Carolina. He's good. It's just hard to learn linebacker, just like it is with Jaden Parrish, and know the schemes to put him in on 1st and 10. I get it. Specialty situations and special teams, sure, blitz, just cover the flat, just play man, keep it very simple. They could do 1st and 10 against a team that uses a lot of motions, like Louisville does or NC State. That's not good for freshman linebackers. It's not realistic. But against teams that are pretty basic, he might play a little bit and he can run. This, again, is a Florida State old school linebacker from the 90s, early 2000s. Love his athleticism. The other kid, and it's somebody that even Norvell brought up during his press conference at ACC Media Days, Mekhi Danzy, played at Florida High. Excuse me, right down the road from the school. He's from Tallahassee. Great kid, elite student. Speed. 45.99 in the 400. Look, that's smoking. You're going to find a place for him. Return man, maybe in the slot, in conjunction with, he's a running back by trade. I don't know where he's going to play. Got to get him the ball, man. Got to get him the ball. If he can show ball security in fall camp, even if it's just punt return, he's a guy who can score anytime he touches it. When he turns the corner, that's like, oh, wow. Even on a field at Florida State in the ACC, like, he's going to stand out. He has that kind of world-class speed. You got to get him the ball. Last thing that I would say, kid like Amari Williams, this is just an example. He enrolled a year early, super athlete, but he's a year behind in development from the weight room. It's going to be really hard for him to play just from that. But at the same time, he's also a kid on the line. Line of scrimmage, D-line, O-line, almost impossible because it's about weight room. Any lineman, I don't care if it's Georgia, I don't care if it's South Carolina State, Florida A&M, doesn't matter. Freshman O-line and freshman D-line, especially the closer to the ball you get, D-tackle, offensive guard, almost impossible to play as a freshman. Have to have years in the weight room. Just going to say that. With that, Amari Williams he could play tight end or DN. It wouldn't make any difference. I think they're going to play him on defense. Really good athlete, 6'4", 230, something like that. That's the kind of kid that Florida State has signed forever. Give him a year or so to mature, kind of like Patrick Payton, and then they develop. Don't think he'll play a ton this year, if at all, but the sky is high. With that, I'm just going to wrap it up. I just wanted to kind of give my take with all this stuff. Obviously, Florida State just starting spring ball today. There'll be some reports. I'm actually headed to Orlando to do some scouting and interview some kids at the Orlando kickoff. It's a big event with all the high schools there. Florida State's offered a ton of the kids are going to be there. So I'm going to interview some of them. But thank you once again. Hit that like button and that notification bell. Rate and review this podcast and share it. You all be safe. I'll talk to you soon.